As most of you know, I love my city. And one of my favorite things to do is to invite people into the things that I love most about where I live. So today we have the Garden Lover's Guide to my beloved city of Seattle, plus a few bonuses. Stay tuned to the end. Seattle is divided into a series of neighborhoods, and what's amazing is that each one of these neighborhoods carries its own kind of energy, its own flavor, and they also, most of them, contain a beautiful park or garden that should absolutely be on the Garden Lover's Guide to Seattle. So we are going to start actually in the neighborhood of Magnolia. This is just a real quick jaunt straight north of the city, and in it is one of the greatest treasures in our city. This is Discovery Park. Friends, here we are. This is actually the Loop Trail. Now, the Loop Trail is one of my favorite walks into Discovery Park. It is about 2.8 miles. And what's wonderful is you get a little bit of everything. You get peak forest, ferns, mahonia, wildlife. I have been on the Loop Trail early in the morning and have seen owls and deer. I mean, it's amazing. Not only do you have forest, but then also it empties out onto the sand dunes and you get just incredible meadows, gorgeous views of the water. It really can't be beat. Now, if you are someone who has mobility issues, for example, this doesn't mean that this is off limits for you, because you can also go to the visitor center and grab a pass and drive down to the West Point Lighthouse and just drink it in. You guys, so whether you are a kid who wants to go to the park and you have a young family, or you are getting on in years, but you still want to enjoy just the beautiful Mother Nature, just unending display of goodness, Discovery Park has an option for you. Oh, and before I forget, it rains a lot here. Spoiler, wear good shoes. Expect to get a little muddy. That's kind of the fun part. You guys, top-notch 10 out of 10 mushroom game is happening in Discovery Park. This was actually one of the places that really inspired my garden last year for the Northwest Flower and Garden Show. And yeah, if you're into forest bathing, hello, forest bathe in the city. It's amazing. So we are definitely people who love to pair food and adventure. So if you are coming out to Discovery Park, what I would recommend is you make a morning of it, you make an afternoon of it. After you are done at the park, go hit up Petit Pierre, get some incredible pastries. Also, they have an uptown espresso, which is wonderful. And then, oh my gosh, and then Magnolia actually has a garden center, and it is so cute and adorable. It is lovely, great little gift shop. And probably since you're there, duck into the alley just behind, because that is where you will find a restaurant called Mura, M-U-R-A. And Mura has, not only are they reasonably priced, but they are run by a husband and wife team and have incredible Korean food. I highly recommend, what do I usually get? Oh, the bibimbap bowl. Always get that. Get it in the skillet, egg on top, add some avocado. You can't go wrong. There's your day in Magnolia. I am standing at our next stop. This is the Chuli Gardens, and the Chuli Gardens are located in the Seattle center. So this is just a quick walk from downtown Seattle. This is also the perfect opportunity to hop on the monorail because it'll drop you right here. This area is also home to some more touristy attractions. So think the Space Needle, Mopop, just a phenomenal place to come with you, the family, or even just a solo expedition. But the Chuli Gardens are incredible. And these are gardens that were created in tandem with Dale Chihuly, who is one of our real treasures here in terms of artists in the Seattle area. The other really cool thing is, even as you're walking up to the gardens, the Seattle Center is putting a lot of emphasis on rehabbing their green spaces. So even the garden bed that's like right behind Brian and to my left here, it's gorgeous. This is great because I think when you're visiting Seattle, it's always nice to have a couple things on your list that can be enjoyed even when the weather is less than ideal. You guys, I'm going to give you a mildly inappropriate sneak peek. Check that out. That is so freaking cool. Okay, you gotta pay for the rest. First peek's free. First peek's free. Friends, we're here at our next adventure, and this one is shockingly free. We are at the Amazon Spheres, and the scoop with the Amazon Spheres is they're only open to the public 2 days per month. So we're talking the first and the third Saturday of each month is when it's open. You do need to get reservations online. So what they're going to do is they'll open up those reservations 15 days before the Saturday visit, and that is when you go online and book. But again, totally free. So when you're planning your visit, one thing that they recommend is you keep your visit to about an hour inside the spheres. That way they have time to circle everybody through, but do not run out of time, because when you get to the top of this kind of the furthest of these spheres, there's actually a little hangout space, and you can just kind of like lay there underneath the dome. And it's such a beautiful moment to just kind of like, I don't know, look up at the sky and be surrounded by all of these incredible plants. And if you are an indoor plant enthusiast, honestly, like this needs to be your first stop. Like, do not come to Seattle unless you're planning a visit here, because it is really honestly that spectacular. And the amount of horticultural wisdom that's gone into the curation of these plants is second to none. So, man, and I cannot believe it's free. It's limited, but it is free. Now, in terms of coming here for a visit, there's amazing ways that you can make this kind of an awesome excursion. There is a donut shop directly inside the spheres, and then also across the street, because this is like Amazon's headquarters, they actually have incredible food. I mean, you can't throw a stick without hitting a good place to eat. So we're talking Skillet, Mom Noon Street. That one is so fantastic. Gosh, what else is there? Marination. I mean, this is just tip of the iceberg of amazing places to eat while you plan your visit. Also, this is actually within downtown. So if you're staying downtown, this is a super quick walk and totally worth it. Our next garden adventure is up to the Capitol Hill neighborhood, which is also just kind of outside of downtown Seattle. And this neighborhood is fantastic. It is one of the oldest neighborhoods in our city and has incredible architecture anywhere you go. So just honestly, the drive through the neighborhood, through these residential streets, is perfection. But where I am right now is in Volunteer Park. And Volunteer Park is a lovely, lovely park within this neighborhood. You kind of enter through this tree-lined promenade, and then as you come all the way down to the end, you are greeted with this beauty behind me. And this is definitely on a must-see list. This is the Volunteer Park Conservatory, and it was built just around the 1900s, and it is based off of a Victorian style conservatory. There's a ton of tropicals, and I would say everything on kind of like this side behind me is more of a static exhibit, meaning it's here kind of perennially. And then on the left behind me, the far room is a lot of like the cactus and more of the arid plants. But then this middle house, there are rotating exhibits that go through that hall. So they have like the Chrysanthemum Society. They have an incredible poinsettia display in there right now. It is very, very fun. Now, if you are in for an adventure where you're maybe not walking a really long way, this is the perfect spot for you. And not only can you enjoy this rain or shine, because it is a beautiful greenhouse, so we can actually continue this adventure literally just down the street. I want to show you two more spectacular things. By the way, entrance to this conservatory is only $6. It is wonderful. And then if you are coming here in the spring, I don't know if you can see this, but they will have, do you see all these little tips pushing up? They have the most incredible bulb display. It is sensational. And so this place, I mean, no matter what time of year you visit, there's something special going on here. Because I like to kind of give you a whole day out with all of these gardens, I wanted to show you what is literally just down this main promenade from the conservatory, and that is behind me. This is the Seattle Asian Art Museum. It has been here just for ages and ages. The entry is actually very reasonable, $15, and I kind of feel like a museum, a garden, and then cap it off with some food and the view of the city. Like, this is a great day out in the city of Seattle. I don't want to send you off without an incredible photo opportunity. And behind me is this really spectacular sculpture. This is Black Sun. The artist's last name is Noguchi. And if you stand just so, you get like the perfect frame for the Space Needle. This next garden adventure is really for the gardener who wants a little bit of really interesting gardens and some fun shopping. So we have stopped at the U District. This is kind of like University District meets Ravenna. This is home to the University of Washington. And the University of Washington not only is an incredible campus, but they also have a Center for Urban Horticulture and their own botanical gardens, which I am standing in front of right now. This is not the biggest garden you will see, but it certainly is no slouch. And there's incredible specimens here. Bonus, if you're coming in the spring during cherry blossom season, go to the quad. Make a stop at the quad at the University of Washington. It is not to be missed. And then after a fun little adventure in the botanical gardens, you can hop on over to U Village, where one of my favorite garden shops of all time is located. That is Reena Gardens. And they have plants. They've got goodies. They've got books. They've got just like the works, kind of like anything I ever want to like shop for, they've got it. But first, let me take you inside here. So like I said, this isn't a massive garden, but what I think they do is they showcase really spectacular pairings, really incredible plants, and each one of these garden beds has its own theme, and it's all set against this incredible backdrop. There's also a couple of different walking trails that lead in and out of the botanical gardens, so it's just kind of like a nice little pop in. It's great for like a mental reset when you're busy shopping out with all the people. This is just like a nice place to kind of like come recenter yourself, just enjoy these beautifully curated plants that they have paired together here. Okay, so after you're finished at the UW Botanical Gardens, you hustle over here because behind me is Ravenna Gardens. This is one of my favorite places to shop. They've got such great inspiration when it comes to color, form, texture, containers. Okay, this is the reason I want those little garden shoppers to come here, is because as you go around the grounds at U Village, which is the shopping center where we are, they have gone to just such great lengths to display beautiful combinations of plants. And I can't tell you how many times I've been wandering through here, come across a plant combination, and just was like, I wouldn't have put those two together, yet they're working for me. So anyways, so come here, do a little shopping at Ravenna Gardens, and then when you're hungry, okay, I've got two recommendations. Babar, fantastic, amazing pho, cocktails are incredible, or you go to my boys' favorite, which is Din Tai Fung. I tell you, my boys, they will eat their own body weight in dumplings. It is so good. Okay, guys, this is what I mean by incredible inspiration. We have like tree on shrub action here, amazing hellebore, the Gaultheria just killing, and euphorbia. This is such good texture, and I love that it's something I wouldn't have naturally thought of, yet this is 100% my jam. I am saving my biggest secret for last. We are at the Woodland Park Rose Garden, and the reason I wanted to put this last is a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't see it on a lot of Seattle lists, and I think it is a miss. It is just a huge miss. But then the second reason this is my favorite for last is because this is where some of my very first garden memories were created. Because when I was younger, when I was a little girl, we used to go to plays at Woodland Park Zoo because the Seattle Children's Theater was right here. And after every play, my mom and my aunt would walk us over here and we would run the gardens. So come on in. I'm going to show you my favorite garden. So I think what's kind of cool is revisiting someplace from your youth, because it's like, it's wild. I remember running through here and it just went on forever. And granted, it still goes on forever. There are hundreds of roses here, but man, like the memories, it just like immediately takes you back. I want to show you this sweet little pond that we used to play around up here. It's so good. I think they got new baby koi. They're so tiny. They're so cute. But I remember my cousins and I and my brothers, we would just be running circles and circles. But we would all kind of like, you know, when you're little and something seems so big, we would lay with our bellies on the edge of this pond and just kind of look in and look at all the fish. And there's something so beautiful about this garden. And it invites you to explore in such a humble way. The paths are meandering. There's like a little hint of formality, yet there's still space to run. And for that reason, and many more, I think this is a garden that should be always on your list when you come to Seattle. And by the way, we are outside of the Woodland Park Zoo, and really this little position is kind of at, I don't know, I feel like if you go straight, you go south, you hit Fremont. If you go west, you hit like parts of Ballard and Finney. And then if you go east, you're in Wallingford. So we are in this like kind of a little bit of a meeting point, a little cross point between all of these neighborhoods. And so within a stone's throw of where we are, you've got all sorts of touristy things. You've got Gasworks Park, you've got the Troll, you've got all of these amazing places that you want to visit. But really, I think the Rose Garden is your hidden gem. And by the way, this may not be the most glamorous time of year to visit a rose garden. We are literally days away from January 1st. There are still little buds and little pieces of color all throughout this garden, and it still is a treasure. So, because I do not want to leave you without good shopping and even better food, I think this is the perfect starting point to almost a little bit of like an indoor plant shopping experience. Okay, the 3 plant shops, indoor plant shops that I think cannot be missed are number 1, for those who are 21 and over, you heard me, 21 and over, Seattle Plant Daddy is a good time. He is hilarious. And to my knowledge, this is the one and only 21 and up plant shop I have ever heard of. So you can go, you can get a drink, you can get a plant. Good times are had by all. I would also go to Peace, Love, and Happiness Club. They are literally just down the way, so just south in Fremont. They are a beautiful indoor shop. Also in Fremont is the Indoor Sun Shop. The indoors, so Peace, Love, and Happiness Club, that one is a little bit more like, it's very trendy and bright and awesome. And then Indoor Sun Shop is a little bit more funky. She's a little bit more collected. But both are like the best dopamine hit in the middle of winter. Cannot speak highly enough of them. Okay, and also, if you're hungry and you love Indian food, Misha, it is Meesha. Misha is some of the best Indian food I've ever had in the Seattle area. It is phenomenal. And it's like great for a date night too. I might also hit up, I've got 2 Italian places. The first one is Bizarro's, which is just hole in the wall, super fun. And then my last recommendation, she's going to be a bit more of a drive, maybe 10, 15 minutes, but Piccolino's. Schedule your date for Piccolino's in the summertime, so in any good weather, and you want to ask to be sat in the back garden. In that back garden, it is like almost like Piccolino's goes on forever, and you are going to be sitting at a tiny table surrounded in plants, enjoying some of the most delectable Italian food you've ever had. We are now in bonus point territory. First of all, bonus point number 1, grab yourself some local coffee, find a great coffee shop, try someplace new. As per usual, I love Woodland in Ballard, which brings me to my first kind of bonus adventure. Ballard is amazing. There's a ton of great spots here. I would highly recommend, if you're from out of town, going to see the locks. They do have a sweet little garden just on the Ballard side of the locks, and it's really great if like the fish are running. It was one of those gardens where it's just such a classic Seattle thing to do, but I didn't think they had like peak botanicals that I wanted to show you. Also in Ballard, there are a couple other things. First of all, some of my favorite shops are in Ballard. Go to Woodland Mod. They're fantastic, as well as Luca. They're also phenomenal. And then if you have a couple extra hours, and I do mean hours, head north. because at the very far north end of Ballard is one of my favorite nurseries of all time, Swanson's Nursery. They are fantastic. The people are great. The plant selection is incredible. And honestly, you can't go wrong. Oh, and they have a little cafe. So food is involved as per usual. Okay. The other one, the other honorable mention is the Arboretum. Now, the Washington Park Arboretum is so massive. I was like, how do I even break this thing down? So if you want like a really full adventure day, you want to cover a lot of miles on a really great walk with some friends, the Arboretum is the place to go. It's also the home of a beautiful Japanese garden. That one you do have to pay to enter, but it's one of those gardens that's like small but sweet. And if that is your style of gardening, it's a beautiful example of Japanese gardens. Okay, last bonus point for me is a big one. If you are visiting Seattle and you have access to a vehicle, I would head down to the ferry. I would have you hop aboard the ferry going over to Bainbridge, and I would have you plan an entire day on Bainbridge Island. Bainbridge is incredible. Not only is it just like a lovely community, but they've got great little shops. Actually, your very first stop once you get off that ferry is make your way over to Pegasus Coffee. It is the cutest coffee shop. It's completely covered in vines. It is wonderful. And then I want you to plan ahead and schedule a visit for the Blodell Reserve. Buy your tickets in advance. I will leave a link to their website below. But the Blodell Reserve is such a spectacular garden. This is going to be something where you're going to walk a long way. And so if you have mobility impairment, this may not be an adventure that you want to go on. But if you have the gusto and you want to have a total treat, Blodell is where it's at. Oh, and bonus points, they have an adorable gift shop. Well, there you have it, my friend. Your very garden-forward adventure in Seattle. Thank you so much for jumping along with me. I will go ahead and list as many links as I can in the description below. Of course, always go to the appropriate websites to verify entry times and costs and all those good things in case they change. And as always, say hello to your garden for me.